Yeah, you look extra white today.
I
You look like you had
white.
mayonnaise on your sandwich this morning.
I do. I look spreadable. I'm so white.
Oh, that's ridiculous.
I'm excited
Welcome to the
because
tragedy. Kathy.
getting a tan, but
You're getting
you
a
can't
tan.
really see. You can't really tell.
Is that your driving arm?
You're getting
No, they both.
arm.
Although, if you'll notice, my hands are actually darker than my arms,
Nope.
and that's
noticed.
because we were doing a 5K fundraiser at the library, and so I was outside for like hours, and I put sunscreen on, but I think I washed my hands. So
No, it's because
Yeah.
of your librarian sweater.
That's exactly
Don't-
what I was thinking.
It's a
definitely was
librarian
not
sweater
wearing a
tan.
sweater.
It was a cardigan.
Definitely was not
Cardigan,
wearing a
obviously.
sweater in like 90-degree heat outside.
If anyone would do that, it would be a librarian.
Exactly.
Not the
Buttoned
librarians
up.
I work with, but
Oh, hey, send me some of their information.
Well, hold on. Welcome to the Tragedy Academy, a show created to bridge societal divides in a judgment-free zone using candor and humor. My name is Jay, and I am joined by my co-host Gary. What's going on, brother?
How you doing?
I am doing well, my man. And then we have a special episode today. We are joined by our project manager, our librarian, our archivist, our historian, our master of all things information, Jennifer Vane. How's it going, Jennifer?
good. Doing good this morning. Excited for
You're
this
excited?
episode. So
Jennifer's gonna.
I know
start
you
this
can't
all
tell
out.
from what's happening on my face right now, but I'm excited internally. Gonna be great.
Did you hear the Rocky theme when you got up this morning?
No, I didn't.
I play that a lot of mornings. Believe
Is
it or
it
not.
like a librarian's Rocky?
Oh my gosh.
Like
No.
I do that. You guys don't do that? I do that like a
Do you
lot
do that?
actually, like pretty
Mm.
often. Exactly.
I always have
the
some
Rocky
kind of
theme.
theme song going on in the background of my head when I do things.
No, I play that like loudly while I'm getting ready in the morning. I really do.
That is probably very motivating.
It is.
I
That's
feel like that'd be very
disturbing.
motivating.
I'm Italian. I grew up in
He
the
starts
80s.
it
Like
early though, like when he's still in the bathroom,
I do.
scrolling through TikTok with.
I 100% do
in
that.
the background.
I do. I do that exact thing. I
You
can
can't
control the.
poop to
Hey,
Rocky.
you know,
You can't
whatever
poop
gets
to
you going
Rocky.
in the morning.
It's right when I'm
Like-
done pooping and I get out and I like jumping around, like shadow boxing in the living room. I do that all the time. I'm not joking about any of this. It's just like every
This is
day.
amazing. This is the
I'm a
stuff that my wife is subject to when people aren't around. There are things that she gets disturbing views of me doing stupid shit like that.
She's Italian from Jersey. Every dude she grew up with did this shit. I guarantee it. When in the 80s, Rocky, Italian, that was our guy. Like we all thought we could beat up everybody. I used to put my swim trunks on and my bathrobe and kick the shit out of my brother all the time. Like I was like walking down to the ring. To this day,
Brother,
he hates the Rocky theme, swim trunks, and bathrobes to this day.
It's a PTSD like
he
moment. It's trauma.
flinches when he opens up the closet in the hotel room because there's
Oh, he's like, oh god. And he worked at a hotel for like 10 years too. He's probably terrified.
there were no ropes in that hotel. It was all towels around the waist.
Yeah, they call down the front desk like, I need a rope. He's like, what do you need it for?
Also,
well, sorry.
Jennifer
This is-
take over
yeah,
the show
um,
because
we
clearly
off
we're
on it.
not capable of discussing authors, libraries, and things like that without being jackasses.
True.
I mean, that's fine. That's on brand. That's on brand for the show. You know, there's nothing wrong with being yourself.
What makes us lovable, I'd like to think.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Um.
tell myself that.
Hold on, we've got
Oh,
some sirens coming.
nice.
I'm
Oh, they're-
hoping that I have my little sound shield up right now, so we'll see.
Yeah,
Sounds like they're right in my lip.
Yeah, yeah,
Not stand a chance against that
Look.
SWAT team.
Yeah.
Oh, but-
all of the Cleveland in me is saying, bail, bail, bail.
Where's the quickest exit?
Yeah.
I just all of a sudden book it towards the back door.
Gary's suddenly below all windows.
You just said book it, which is one of the topics I want to discuss during this podcast.
Oh,
okay,
yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Back on brand.
That's
So,
perfect.
well, I was really pleased because the garbage truck just came by earlier and they were clunking everything around or the recycling. And according to Riverside, my mic was not registering anything. So it's doing something, which is good. All right. So, yeah, TA library episodes. What does that mean? What can you expect from these episodes? And I think I like to think of these episodes, given our academy theme, this is like continued education or like after school study
I like that.
session. And much like a real library, these episodes are going to be a place to do a lot of different things, which is great. We'll be doing a little bit of what we call in the library world readers advisory, which is giving people book recommendations. And we'll also be digging into the archives. We'll be learning about some book and library history, which I think a lot of people are surprised it's much more interesting than you would expect.
It's not
Uh,
just all the Dewey Decimal System.
it's no, no.
By
Although
the way, I just
I will
exercised
say,
all of my library vocabulary right there. I dropped that bomb up front. I wanted to be the one to use it because I know that it's it's a
That's
hot
all I
one.
got too, so great,
Ah,
thanks.
Dewey Decimal. Well, there's actually like heated debate about Dewey Decimal System, so maybe we'll talk about that at a later time. And of course, we'll be supporting authors that come onto the show. This will be a more space to talk about their work or things related to their work. And I'd also like to take the opportunity to talk about the library and publishing fields. There's a lot of drama that goes on. There's a lot of drama, man, especially in the rise of like cancel culture and stuff. There's a lot of
mm,
interesting conversations that are happening in the publishing field, in the book space, and there's just a lot more cultural and social significance than I think a lot of people realize when it comes to public libraries and publishing, which is
I like that because I want to also caveat that with I'd want to understand what influences major publishers carry in society today and what they've
Mm,
carried over time because media that we take in now has a very short lifespan, but we forget that books were the first form of media that you could take in and they're published in larger groups. I mean, there's a lot of influence to be had in that. I'd love to have those conversations around that. Also, the NFT structure for publishing now.
Oh, yeah. There is controversy on that as well. So that's definitely something we can talk about. Just like, the first example that comes to mind is in the wake of the murder of George Floyd. Obviously there was a lot of unrest socially in the United States and across the world. And, this discussion of systemic racism was applied to a lot of different things, and that also included the publishing field. If you think about it, publishers hold an enormous amount of influence in that they are the ones that get to decide what voices are being heard. And
Mhm.
when historically you have people of color being almost entirely excluded from that, then what are people reading? They're only reading white voices. So that's a whole conversation that's been happening for several years, but I think particularly in the wake of George Floyd. So yeah, like I said, cultural, social significance.
On that topic, just for 1 second,
Yeah.
because you brought up George Floyd and you talked about color, the people of color not being represented throughout time in publishing and things like that. And I'd seen a video a while back that pointed something out that really floored me in books. All of the civil rights movement photos are in black and white in the majority of publications when there were clearly color photos. And it
Mm,
was inferred that it was to give the impression that it was longer ago than it actually was, or that it was
mm,
something that had been overcome and was from the past. And that really resonated with me because it did bother me that they were always black and white. Why
yeah,
is it that every photo I saw of Martin Luther King was in black and white
black and
when,
white.
for
Yeah.
God's sakes, and JFK is standing there in full color?
Yeah. Yeah. There was definitely Technicolor.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That's
No, it's
interesting.
a really interesting video too. That's a interesting thought. I'd never thought about that before.
I hadn't either. That's why I
Um,
brought it up. It really just
yeah.
when you said that, it that tells me that there's influence that's not paid attention to. And it
Yeah,
could be
I
even implicit.
that's just like, yeah, the all the underpinnings and subtleties of media in general have a huge impact that we're largely unaware of because I think most people are very uncritical in how they consume any type of media.
Mm.
So yeah, you're going to see these pictures in a history book, and black and white is centuries ago to kids these days.
Oh, yeah.
Kids these days. So that phrase just came out of my
Eh,
mouth. Yeah, I mean that's like that's forever ago.
I had black and white TV still, like, as very young. They were old, obviously, but they still
Same.
existed, like, in our basement and shit. So
Yeah,
it's yeah, I do think even though I had that and I see black and white, my brain says, "Wow, that's, like, a long time ago." I don't really
that's
think about it,
yeah,
but
yeah.
it does feel like it was a really long time ago, even though it wasn't.
I'm not inferring that this is from a position of malice either. This could be the desire to need racism to go away or to make it, not as prevalent in somebody else's mind. They could be thinking they're doing something good. Who knows?
No. If it
They're
was done
not.
purposely, it was done for money,
Okay, so
probably.
I'm just trying to look at the
Mm.
better in humanity.
And
But I
yeah,
I get you. All right, I flip-flopped. I'm with you. I wouldn't have brought it up if I didn't think otherwise.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
if it
I
I
tend
don't know
to
enough, but
assume
it's
bad
money.
intentions,
I
but
try not to.
Yeah, it's money.
Okay,
it's
sorry. So we derailed you again.
So
no, that's okay. I mean, I hope that this will be a space where we can have those kinds of conversations related to books, of course, but it's always going to bleed out into other things too, because people tend to not realize how influential books, reading, literature, the whole thing is. So we'll be discussing many, many things in TA library episodes, and anything book related, I'll try and find a way to bring it in. So who
I dig
am
it.
I? Yeah, I'm really excited about this. As I said before. Why am I here though is the question that I'm gonna answer next. Who am I? Why am I doing these episodes? I know have I introduced myself on the podcast, or
No,
have you guys just introduced?
we
Yeah,
just
okay.
introduced you.
Hi.
You're Oz still.
Awesome. I'm behind the curtain.
You're behind the curtain still.
Yes, hi, dear listeners. I'm Jennifer. I am the host of the podcast Big Book Energy, which we'll say has been on hiatus
Well, you
for the
you had a
past few months.
co-host that
I did,
took
yeah.
a sabbatical to work on their education, right?
Yes. So I originally started this podcast with my co host, Paige. This was in the fall of 2019. We recorded our first episodes in January of 2020. So, very interesting time. Funny story, one of our very first episodes, or one of the early episodes, I had picked a book that I was going to be presenting for the episode, and it was The Great Influenza, which was a history of the Spanish flu, or the 1918 flu pandemic. And I was reading this and talking about it as we're getting all these news stories coming from out of China about this new disease that had been spreading for several
That's
months. Because
eerie.
I think, yes, yeah, it was very interesting. So I think a lot of people, I've had conversations with people since then, and they're like, "Yeah, we didn't know it was coming," and I was like, I knew it was going to happen because I had just finished reading this very thick book on the pandemic in the early 20th century, and hearing the stories like coming from China, and it was starting to pop up in other countries. I'm like, it's happening. It's
wait, that's not when
happening.
you drink too much tequila? Spanish flu?
You start dreaming about Chinese pandemics?
No,
Oh,
The Spanish flu.
No.
Oh, I
No,
thought it had
that's
to do
not
with
what that
Cuervo
is.
or Patron.
Um, no, the 1918 pandemic was, yeah, just an influenza virus.
yeah, but without the proper medical or, the advancements in medicine that we have now, the flu is the same thing we just went through. It's COVID.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because, well, this is also another tangent, and we talk a lot about this in the episode. But so it was a strain of influenza. They believe that it hopped over. It was like a form of swine flu, hopped over from pigs, and they actually think that it may have started in the United States.
Yeah,
And
we start all the greatest shit.
yeah, well,
Yeah, it's true.
how we raise animals, okay, you guys, how we raise animals is not conducive to preventing pandemics. I'll leave it at that. But I don't know where I was going with that. And that's really a tangent. So I'm just going to stop that right there. If you guys
You were
want to hear
talking with
more
big
about
book
it,
energy about the first book
yeah,
that you
yeah,
had
you can go
started and
listen to that
read.
episode.
I think they
Go
should.
listen to that episode. It's yeah, it's just like the Great Influenza, I'm pretty sure. It's one of our earlier episodes. But yeah, we started that in 2019. And Paige, congratulations to Paige, was accepted to a graduate program in Iceland, which is awesome.
I wanna go there.
Shut the
But
front
also
door,
I know,
Iceland?
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Or she's on her back looking at stars like nobody's business.
Seeing volcanoes, like glaciers,
Yeah, they
gorgeous
have those
Can we
waterfalls,
have
the
her
whole
on for an
thing.
episode? Like,
Yeah, I could
what's the
get in touch
internet
with
like
her.
in Iceland?
no, that's a very
Uh,
advanced country.
it's fine. Yeah, she was
Okay,
able
cool.
to record a couple of episodes with us before, I mean, because she was in graduate school and she was learning like 3 different languages because she was studying like Ireland. So, she was learning like old Icelandic or like Norse, like she was doing all these languages. And I'm just like, and she was like, I don't think I have time for this. I'm like, I'm sure you don't have time for this.
Sounds like Gary.
Um,
Yeah, but I'm here.
so yeah, look at Gary.
Yes,
He
this
made
is
it
I
true.
today.
made it.
This is true. You are here. I take that back.
Is
But
her
you do
real
have a
name
million
Turner?
guys.
I do. Yeah, is her name Paige Turner? Her
No,
name's Paige. Yeah, like Paige Turner.
no.
I've been waiting to use that for like 8 minutes. I've been waiting to use that for like 8 minutes.
But bum.
Okay.
So yeah, so once that season kind of ended, it's just been me and I started working full time and it just hasn't been. So yeah, it's on hiatus right now. But hopefully in the future it will start becoming a regular thing once again. But yeah, what's my story with libraries? Why did I make a podcast on books? I've always loved books. Always. My mom likes to trot this story out, bragging rights. I started reading at 3, but I dove straight into chapter books. I didn't go with picture books. Magic Treehouse was my jam. It's a great series. I recommend it to anyone who has kids.
No
Um,
quiz.
it's
Googling.
amazing. And they're remaking it right now into graphic novels, which is awesome.
That's cool.
I actually bought copies of
Yep.
the
I don't
first
not know
2.
this for any other reason, but we just didn't have books in my home growing up.
Yeah, yeah, which that's kind of something I want to talk about later in this episode. So, yeah, voracious reader, always a big lover of books. Not so much a big lover of libraries. And I'm gonna let you guys guess why I did not like libraries as a child.
Because you have to
Any
be
guesses?
quiet.
They're
You have to be
gross.
quiet. They smell like
You have
almost
Too many
be
hands on
quiet,
books.
be gross, smell, too many hands on books. Okay, you guys are kind of there. For one of the reasons. Yeah. The books were dirty. Okay. They were dirty, especially if you go into a children's library. If you weren't
Alright.
snagging that book within the first month of it being out, it's dirty, man. It's dirty.
That's way
Oh
up
yeah,
there
you
on
might
my
as well
list of
be licking
reasons.
escalator rails at that point.
Um,
That's why. Yeah,
and they're
I'm with you on that.
worn. And my books as a child and to this day are pristine. Okay. They're pristine. I certainly have never dog-eared a page in my entire life. um, so going to the library and having to get books that like other people had used like was not something that I was a huge fan of when I was younger. But the biggest reason that I didn't like libraries is because I didn't get to keep the books.
You
I
can't.
had to bring
Oh,
them
so it was
back.
something you conquered.
Yeah, I was very acquisitive with books when I was younger. Like I was a book collector. I had a huge bookshelf in my home. And I wanted like a library. I just didn't like a home library. I just didn't like the fact that I didn't get to keep them. Like it wasn't like going to the bookstore.
So where do you go when you're in a book?
What do you mean?
What draws you into books themselves, reading? How did that become like what besides the fact that you started when you were 3? Because there's still so many different modicums of, or methods to take in information or watch things or whatever, but books is where you really found yourself, it seems like. Where do
Mm.
you go or why is it? What transports you inside there?
Well, it's 1000% an escape. Yeah, it's an escape. Escapism is huge. Childhood wasn't always very fun for me.
Mm.
Often not very fun. And so reading was a way for me to get away from that situation. And I still enjoy. Now it's more of a relaxed thing, right? It doesn't feel like I am protecting myself. It's more
Mm.
like this is a entertaining adventure to somewhere else. Books are very transportive in that way. For some people, probably movies are, like TV shows, like it's a pause from reality and getting to experience something you wouldn't get to experience otherwise. So as I was younger, that felt like more of a necessity. And now that I'm older, it's a little more enjoyable just for the sake of enjoyment, I think.
I can dig that. I utilized when I did finally get, really exposed to any kind of books, I landed in the same scenario where I was utilizing them as a method to escape. Um,
Mhm.
you had, what was it, the Magic Tree House? Is that what you said it was? Did I
Yes,
get that right?
Magic
So
Treehouse. Mhm.
mine was way, way goofier sounding and not a set of books that anybody else had. And it was the Happy Hollisters. And it
Mm.
was like this, it was like almost like a knockoff Nancy Drew,
Sounds
where like a
familiar.
group of wholesome kids would like solve,
Yeah, like
you know,
boxcar children, kind of like.
yeah, something like that, and they were cool, they were a good little escape, but then I stumbled onto, The Count of Monte Cristo, and that's
I
actually
love
one
that
of my
book. Yeah,
favorite books, and it
yeah,
was
it's one of my favorites as well.
Great sandwich.
I
it
have
is.
an episode on Big Book Energy about that. So on
So,
Count of Monte
yeah,
Cristo.
honestly, I think that's where I kind of grasped a mindset that wasn't the most the most conducive to, mental health, that revenge scenario hanging out in there
Mm,
with the need to prove that, you're better than what people think you are or something like that. But it really resonated with me at the time because it showed you could escape, and I really liked
yeah,
that, and so I
yeah,
think that a lot of people are gonna like hearing you say that, because it is an escape. It's the use of somebody else's creative, mindful moment that they've donated.
yeah,
And if it's written correctly, you're getting the opportunity to escape to a world that somebody else created.
yeah. No, I 100% agree.
Get your own interpretation too. When you watch a movie, like you're given the visual, right? But when you're reading
Yeah.
a book, like me and you could read the same thing and kind of picture something differently,
Yeah,
which I think
everybody
is cool.
gets their own screen.
Yeah.
It's
But
interesting too. I think I like the age where I'm at, I was able to there were like several Harry Potter books. Cause you can like ask someone a question like, what do you think Harry Potter looks like? Is it Daniel Radcliffe? Can you remember what you thought he looked like before that? Cause like I was, I think around 11 or 12 when the first movie came out. So I had already read, I think three Harry Potter books were out before the first movie came out. And so I definitely had a vision of what all the characters looked like before that, but I can't remember anymore because that visual that's been given to you has replaced what you had
it's
before.
washed
And
it out.
there's a big train coming. So,
Nice. In
So
Cleveland, the libraries are
Jennifer,
next to
those of you
train
who don't
tracks.
know, she's in San Francisco next to the Rice-A-Roni factory. She,
Great rice.
she lives You're like the only person with a streetcar next to their house. I didn't know this still existed.
it's like,
Is it really a streetcar or is it a train?
no, it's a train. It's a
No.
train. It's Amtrak. I think that was Amtrak. Sometimes it's like big, huge,
Bro, worst way to travel.
actual,
That's an
actual
episode one
trains.
day.
But
I
I
would
want to do
not
that
ride
really
a
bad
train
though.
for anybody. They constantly fly off the rails and kill everybody.
Nah, that's not constant.
not really that often.
And they don't kill the people on the train. They kill the person
No,
that's broke down on the tracks.
that happened. That happened, like,
Like,
I
right
don't
like
know,
down that
man. I
way,
saw a
right? The
lot of
next light
dudes
over.
twisted mustaches as a kid with somebody tied to railroad tracks.
wait a second. That's a cartoon.
You had to think about that. You're like, is that a real
You're,
thing?
like, thinking about
Uh,
that.
I'm like, well, you're from Florida, so
Yeah.
anything could happen.
And
No. Yeah, there probably is a dude twisting a mustache tying somebody to a fucking railroad track here in Florida
100%
right
right.
now.
Exactly right now. Like with the
right now,
alligator, like
yeah,
clasped on his ass and
yeah,
like, God, get off
Probably
me.
with a silent movie piano in the background playing.
Yeah, 100%.
yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Wait, is there pianos in silent
Um,
movies? That defeats the purpose. Never mind.
so to get us back on track, tracks,
Dogs.
right? Get it? Railroad.
But
Oh, I gotta go.
Yeah.
Jesus,
So
Page Turner.
So for me, I think reading as a child was like very much an adaptive behavior. It was a coping mechanism. But for other kids, it is like this very important access to creativity and imagination growing up,
Mm.
which isn't to say that it wasn't that for me as well, but it served another purpose too. So yeah, reading, very important for children. But I did not like the library, and I really did not go to libraries at all until grad school.
I did some
I
research
think when I
before
was an
we started.
undergrad.
I did some research before we
Yeah.
started. I agree with you. One of the things that I was looking at was the fact that these books are disgusting. There's studies on the
I
books,
noticed.
and there's machines that clean them and all that sort of stuff. But I'd like to go on record. We've said it in the past. The Tragedy Academy's fecal tolerance is 0. We have a 0 fecal tolerance here at the Tragedy Academy.
Oh, but I mean
Yeah.
it's everywhere though.
Yeah, but I don't like to think about that. I actually punched somebody for insisting on telling me what was in chicken nuggets before. I'm like, I don't want to know. And they just kept talking about it, so I punched them. That was a long
Yeah,
time
I'd
ago.
rather not know. I don't need to know
I
that either.
no,
Sorry,
you
man,
don't
Not that
need
I
I
can eat
derailed
them,
you again,
but
but I just want to put that out there that it's in
Um,
those books.
No, I thought about that last night when I went to the library. I was some very germophobic. If I lend somebody a book, I just rebuy it and let them keep it because I don't want it
I
back.
don't really lend books. If I'm being honest,
Well,
I don't. I don't know what they're gonna do with my book. Other
I
people have
do. That's
different
why I get a new one.
standards for how
They're
they view
taking it
books,
in the bathroom. The same
It's
place they take
100% where
your
it's at.
phone.
Yeah.
They're going in the
That's why I buy
bathroom
a
with it.
new one. It's like,
100%.
just keep that. Yeah.
Uh,
And how many bathrooms
yeah,
has a 20-year-old library book been in? Hundreds.
1000%. Just some guidelines for people that do take out actual physical library books. Always wash your hands. Wash your hands. Don't touch your face. Don't eat snacks while you're reading the book. You
Um,
don't do any of that.
Just might as well
Um
suck all the peanuts in a bar bowl.
oh
Yeah,
man, it's
just
like
don't do it.
I remember the
I'm
day I
not saying
realized
this
that.
to scare anyone, but it's just basic hygiene. If you're using a public item, wash your hands when you're done. Like, just do it.
I like to lick the
Um,
pages instead of my finger when I turn them.
right,
Oh, so
yeah.
your pseudonym is Paige Liquor. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, you're one of those, man.
Oh,
I
So
remember
like the finger guy?
no,
I was
I
working
would
in
never do that. God.
Oh,
Yeah, I love that the librarian has the loudest of the rooms.
I can't help it, man. Like, I live on a
Fantastic.
highway.
life is a highway.
Oh my God. I love that song.
You're supposed to keep us on like, she
Uh-huh.
keeps us on track, but, like, this is her thing, so there's no one to keep her on track, so we're just kinda screwed here. You need, like, to bring
Okay,
in
well,
somebody.
Welcome
fine,
to the
Gary.
ADHD
We'll
that is the
cut the
Tragedy
banter.
Academy.
No, I'm saying I like banter. I don't like being on track at all. Like, we could go all the way this way, but you need another person to come in to, like, oversee this because we can't. We're not
Uh,
capable.
okay. Well, on that note, all right. Uh, I didn't step foot into libraries really until I was in grad school. Happy Gary. Um,
That is interesting because I was picturing you as, like, after school library, like, this was,
never.
like, forever.
Absolutely not. Yeah. Never really stepped foot. At undergrad, you go there to study for finals, but you certainly weren't using the books in there. And then I started a master's program, and that was a completely different story. And then after my history master's, I decided I was going to work in libraries. So I got my master's in library and information studies. And then I really did live in the library because the program was based out of the top floor of the library. So we were always
I
there.
read that.
Um,
Originally, libraries in New York used to have an apartment that was on top of them for the person that was maintaining the library.
oh, that's interesting.
Right.
I was living there was an exaggeration, but that's cool.
Makes sense, I guess. Like, commuting was a problem back in the day, so people probably live
Yeah.
very close to work.
You can guard the books,
Yeah.
you know?
There's something to be
It's
said about
important.
that.
Um,
Yeah, especially, like, with
so yeah.
fires and stuff, I would assume, like, when
Oh my
candlelight was a
gosh.
thing and it was a library and people just get up and elbow that little lantern over, it's a problem.
We will definitely be talking about some library fires
It's
in these
interesting.
episodes,
Mm.
100%.
Preservation techniques too, because they've gotten wild now.
Yes. Yes, very much so. Yeah, I actually know some people that are doing specifically conservation programs. So, it's fascinating. But yeah, got my MLIS, and The rest is
What?
history.
What the hell is
MLIS,
that?
That's the
Masters
soccer
in
league.
Library and
Oh, no.
Information Studies.
What'd you say it was, Gary? Hold on a minute.
That's the soccer league, right? Like the NFL
My
of
lunch
soccer.
is here while I'm in a show.
No.
Oh, I don't get
My
lunch
wife
because
just
nobody
brought me
loves me.
Chick-fil-A.
Oh, some
Oh,
hate
she did?
chicken.
Yeah. I was
Nice.
thinking that, but I wasn't gonna say.
Well, you can say hi if you want. You're on the episode with library. Taryn loves reading.
Yay.
She said, no, I don't.
I approve.
Thank you. No, don't follow the fries.
Um,
The Tragedy Academy mascot's trying to stand here with my French fries.
Nice. He's got them. Curtains for those
But
fries.
yeah, I Masters in Library and Information Studies, MLIS. So it's not like an MA program because that's Masters of the Arts. That's not what it is. So MLIS, and that's a pretty standard degree that you would need if you want to do. Certainly, if you want to work at an academic library, it's generally encouraged to have that. Sometimes not necessary, but if you want to be like a librarian at a university or a college, you would need that. And any kind of upper level positions in public libraries, you'll need an MLIS. But yeah, so
Do you-
over the past 8 years, I've worked in a law library, an academic library. I was in the archives and the academic library, and of course, public libraries. And so this is
I
what I'm
find it
bringing
interesting
to all of you.
that it was your escape for the longest time, and it was the place that you found solace and that type of thing. And now
Mm.
you have a career that is protecting it, that is maintaining it for others to be able to access it in the future and get the same feel out of it. I'm curious, is there, maybe it's not understood or discussed, is there an onus that librarians or archivists or historians feel to give back and protect the information that we've had over the millennia? Is that something that, maybe that's their fire?
1000%. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's if you go into archives, it's because you're going into it because you want to preserve things of historical significance. Like 1000%. That's why you're doing it. I think in any field you're going to get people that have just kind of fallen into it and don't really have like a passion for what they're working with. That'll happen anywhere, but
That's the
definitely
troll, right?
working.
That's the troll in the corner
Yeah.
of the dungeon library that hates being in the library, like the classic.
Yeah, or it's just like, that like stereotype of the librarian who's like yelling at people to be quiet and telling them to shut up. Like,
I don't like that
honestly, to me,
librarian stereotype.
I'm like, that librarian hates their lives. Honestly, like they're clearly not happy. Like, why are they yelling
Yeah.
at people? Like, that's just
Yeah, I think that
they
any
don't
job,
actually want to do this. Yeah.
the
No.
yeller is always like the same in every job, I guess. There's
Or the shusher.
Oh, I hate shushers.
Yeah. Mm-mm.
That shush,
We don't
people
do
get
that.
angry when they do it. They'll do it, and the longer you do it, they'll smack their finger into their lips super hard, trying to get you to notice they're shushing. It's a
Oh, yeah.
thing.
I've never
aggressively
actually
shush
seen
me.
it in real life.
You've never
I saw
seen an
a
aggressive shusher?
Oh, I saw a
No.
really good one once.
Maybe
I've
you're
never
maybe
seen
you were
it.
a little bit younger, so it wasn't as hardcore in the library. Because I know when we were in the library, for F's sake, you would get shushed for any single dropping of a pencil, whatever it was, and it was obnoxious.
I went to Catholic school. There was hardcore shushing. They shushed.
I don't know. I just know whenever I have to work in the children's room, there's just constant baby screaming. So
Yeah, I saw some of that
it's not
yesterday.
quiet. It's not quiet. Libraries are not quiet.
I hate quiet, so that's one of the reasons I don't like libraries. Well, I don't say I don't like them. They're uncomfortable when it's quiet. I was there yesterday and I thought everything I was doing was just way too loud. I mean, I was
Well,
screaming.
that's like that brings
Like you're
up
trying not to
the
wake your parents.
that brings
Yeah,
up
it
the
was.
question that I had for you guys, which
Yeah.
was when was the last time you were in the library? And Gary, I am ready to hear about it.
I'll let you go first, Jay, since it's going to be a very short answer. 30 years ago. Okay, moving on.
No, wait a minute. I vote. Hold on a minute. I vote. I at least get into a library every 4 years.
Oh man, when I was in Alabama, you're voting in the
I'm
churches, man,
joking.
not at the library.
I'm joking. No, he's
doesn't vote.
not far off, and for many of the reasons that you described, Jennifer, that is the state of it, the everybody's hands on the books, that kind of thing. But I got to be honest, more so, I didn't grow up with it, and now that I'm
Mm.
into books, they're in my hand. They're always there. They're in my phone. They're on my computer. So the
Mhm.
information is there. The nostalgia of cracking a spine is not the same for me.
Yeah, for some people, that's very important, the physical book, and for others, it's
Oh, it's
just
like
not.
peeling that plastic thing off your
Yeah.
iPhone.
Yeah, or like that
You'll
down
piss
elbow.
somebody off, pull off somebody's iPhone
Oh,
screen
different
thing
spine.
for them.
Oh yeah, I like that when I get a new item. Some people leave it on till it's all like fuzzy and hairy and like gross. I'm like, why don't you take that off?
Oh, yeah, that's
Mhm.
disgusting.
Yeah,
Just
like
get it out there.
Italian people in their like plastic couches.
You're
They
married
had
now.
those.
Go ahead and take it off.
Yeah. Sorry, tangent again. Now we're talking about couches.
So,
That was
Jay
perfect.
hasn't been in a library
No, I
for
have not been in a library in
however
a
many
long
years.
time.
So,
On
yeah.
base in the military, I would go because there were a lot of books there and you didn't have access to a lot of other things, especially when you're overseas and things like that. You would use the libraries for all sorts of stuff like that. And generally, they had like audio recording areas and things like that. So there were other arts being practiced inside the library. It wasn't just a stack of books. So I would go over there and
Yeah.
hang out with friends. We would make music and stuff in there. But aside from that, now I don't have the same nostalgia for it. I have a paperback guy, and the last time I was there was 2003.
Mm.
Same with me, actually. 2003 was the last time I think I was like in a library before yesterday. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah, so I was very
I'm
intrigued
pretty sure.
that you were gonna visit one
Information
in
age.
preparation for
Yeah.
this episode. So, please tell me about
Yeah.
your experience. I'm dying to know about it.
Well, also 2003, that was the last year I was in
Mm.
college. So like we had to go to the library there. But I never got books out or anything. This is like where I used the internet or like some classes we had there's like meeting spaces there and you'd have to meet
Yeah.
there, but I
Yeah.
never took books out and I didn't read at all in college. That was like I read a little bit in high school era, not very much. College never, like for fun. So it wasn't something that I did. And for a lot of the reasons we talked about, I'm a germaphobe. I'm also addicted to Amazon. So if someone mentions a book, I just buy it in
Yep.
4 seconds. And that it's just at my house the next day or whatever. So I never think like go root through, hope they have it there. And honestly, it doesn't even cross my mind until meeting you, like to talk about, like, I don't know. My brother takes his kids to the library all the time. So that's the only,
Yeah.
like, maybe I'll meet you guys there one time. So I went to the one down the street. And it was weird. Like it wasn't what I remembered because there's all kind of new stuff. There was like a 3D printing area. There was like a
Yep.
teen zone. There
Yep.
was a DJ studio that had podcasting and DJ classes like advertised. There was like all these meeting rooms with like old ladies like knitting and stuff, or they were doing some kind of crocheting in one of them. And then like all different classes. They have hula dancing class there on Friday nights. Like I saw the flyer
You
for
signed
that.
up.
I definitely did. I did like they had the sign-in sheet and the guy's like, "You don't want to go there." I was like, "What are you talking about?" He's like, "It's not a bunch of hot Hawaiian chicks, it's a bunch of old ladies." I'm like, "Oh shit." So
Oh
yeah,
my
so
God. So
yeah,
just so you know, the so toxic masculinity is still alive and well in the library system, in case you're wondering.
the guy did say it's just a bunch of old ladies, and I'm like, "Bro, you don't know what I'm into," and he stopped talking.
You don't know what my search bar looks like.
Yeah, I'm like, "Jeez."
No, that brings up a really good point though. What are the patron could we call people that come into the library patrons? They patronize the library. What do those populations look like? Who comes into the library? It's people with their kids and the elderly.
It was
Uh,
exactly what it was. Really old
yeah,
people and people with like 4 kids, nobody
Socioeconomic
in
as
the
well.
mid-range.
it
Yeah,
is.
they
People
were
that
Yeah,
really
don't
old people.
have
it is.
money to buy books on Amazon at the drop of a dime.
Well, I mean, and that's I was gonna mention that as well. This kind of brings us, I think, your experience especially brings us into what do you think the role of libraries is in the digital age? Because I think people tend to get boxed into thinking that libraries equal books, and that's just not the case. Libraries have been constantly trying to adjust to their patrons' needs since the early 20th century, and what they have to offer has really changed a lot. And that includes digital services, but also things like you mentioned, a variety of educational or just entertainment classes. You can go and spend time with people in your community and also learn something that is interesting or entertaining for you. My library also has a knitting group that meets every week. I run a program that's for people that like journaling and planners and stationery and letter writing and all that kind of stuff. It's called
Nah,
Take Notes.
hold on a minute.
Um,
Pause, time out. You have an
yeah.
organization group.
That's wild.
God, you're smart. Like,
I'm not smart. This was going on before when I got
oh,
hired. I
I
took
was like,
over.
you
Yeah.
love being organized so much that you teach other people to be organized. That's amazing.
No, I mean, I do
It,
love
it's organizing for
organizing
fun.
things, but
Like we just meet every week and just organize stuff just because
we just
love it.
talk about
Sort.
different
Yeah.
topics. Yeah. But and then we're in summer mode right now, so that means it's summer reading program time, which means there is almost every single day at least one activity that is being done for kids because if you think about it, it's summertime.
Can't afford
Kids are out of
daycare.
school. Where are they going to go? The libraries in your local communities offer a lot of services in summer because they are trying to provide a place for children to be able to go.
We at the liquor store.
I don't
We
think they
just
let you
burned
in if
stuff
you're a
behind my
child
cousin's
anymore.
house.
Oh, they don't. We played Street Fighter. They let us in. They didn't really care that much.
Yeah. I don't think they let you in anymore. I just have a very vivid memory of walking into a liquor store in Alabama and I didn't have my ID and they yelled at me until I left. So I don't think
It was probably Sunday because you're not allowed to drink on Sunday because
no,
Jesus.
no, it was not on Sunday. I wouldn't even have been able to get in through the doors on a Sunday because they would be locked. Because
That's a good point.
you can't buy liquor on Sunday. But yeah,
Is it one of
our
those that
county
you
was
can go to the bar though?
Oh yeah, of
no,
course.
no.
Oh, you can't.
Oh, it's like hardcore. I like those where they encourage everybody that drinks to drive.
Well, so Tuscaloosa County was so I first started school undergrad in 2009 and I'm pretty sure that Tuscaloosa County was still dry on Sundays at that time. By the time I was bartending in
Cut
graduate
to.
school, we could sell out the liquor stores were still closed. We could sell and serve alcohol after noon on Sundays.
Got to get
So
that church in.
progress, right?
Mayberry.
I mean,
What is this?
It's like that a lot of
Does
places.
the
though.
town drunk
But-
lock himself up too every morning after he's been on a bender?
boy,
I travel for work a lot, and a
drinking
lot of
culture there
towns
is
have that
intense.
rule.
It's really intense.
Yeah.
Bro.
Very weird juxtaposition with the
So-
religious culture as well. It's just,
yeah. It's like that
Anyway,
in Oklahoma for sure.
this is very off topic, so we're gonna get back on track here.
You asked what they provide and what they're going to provide. What is the library of the future?
Yeah. So what's the role? We well, not necessarily of the future, but we're in the digital age now. What is the role of
There
libraries?
was more computer use there.
Yeah.
I think there's two things. I think there's one, what you're describing, the social aspect of it, the community aspect, the sharing of all of the information that we have in a community way, face to face. And then I believe that those that are in that position to be maintaining our history, our archives, are things that were not part of the digital age. I think that there is a role in that. And I think it's an honorable role. I think it's one that we should definitely pay attention to. I think that it needs to be given a lot of focus because we're in a cancellation age and we're not always going to agree with what's being canceled. And we've got to have somebody that's unbiased that's going to sit there and try to maintain the integrity of our
Yeah.
history. I mean, Dr. Seuss is a piece of shit, but
Is he a piece of
doesn't
shit?
mean that his rhymes weren't cool.
It's Dr. Seuss.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't want to know that one either. He's like way
Yeah,
bad.
She's pretty
Like,
bad.
He's got probably like thousands of racist anti-Asian
So racist.
cartoons.
So
And then if you look
racist.
now at his Dr. Seuss books, you can see all the Asian racist slaves running around as mouses everywhere and
Oh,
things
like,
like
I
that.
I didn't even know Dr.
It's so
Seuss was a real
bad.
person until this
He's so
second,
racist.
and now I found out he's real and shitty. Great.
Love you, man.
I guess I didn't have to feel bad about it now. I'm like, I just didn't even know that was a thing.
No, you were better off not knowing
Yeah,
he
I thought,
existed.
I thought that was like a character that was.
Not only did you find out he existed, you found out he was a racist
Yeah,
at the
well,
same time. You're green eggs
no more
and
Hop
ham
on
just
Pop
got
for me.
kicked across the room like an angry
Yeah, I mean, who the fuck
husband.
wants green eggs and ham anyway? Like, if that shit's green, I'm sending that shit back.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So Read Across America, did you guys do Read Across America where you'd have like the random day in elementary school where like you just like would read
I don't.
Dr. Seuss all day?
Uh,
Do you guys,
I
was
don't
that a
think we.
thing for you guys? I
I,
don't know when they started that.
I heard about this. It's a concentration camp in Vietnam. Like, the
No,
forces
so
kids to
like
read Dr. Seuss all day.
Dr. Seuss like pushed for this like program Read Across America. And so like it was a day like we wouldn't have to do any other subjects, like we wouldn't have to do math or anything like that. We would
Oh, I
come in,
remember
you could
that.
wear
We
your
did that for
pajamas
sure.
and like bring in like blankets
Oh,
and pillows. You could do
we
like a
100%
blanket
did that.
fort and then you just like read books, but like you'd also read Dr. Seuss.
No.
So on those days, they would make in the cafeteria green eggs and ham for us. And
No.
I was just like,
How
no.
did they make it
It was like
green?
the most disgusting looking thing. I'm like, why would anyone want to eat that?
Oh,
Did you
Who
ask
would die?
anybody in
Like,
the
who would die?
army before 2000
Yeah.
what green eggs and ham is? Dude, that's what they serve you
Oh
every time
God.
you're in the field. It comes out of something called a mermite, and it's been cooked for like 10 days. It seems
isn't
like
Mermite
it's an
what
egg roll.
Australians put on their
It could
shit?
literally slide out like a sleeve. You could slice it like bread. It's so green and old.
Yeah, I thought
That's
Mermite was that
disgusting.
Australian spread that smells funny. Oh, it's Vegemite.
Marmite.
Vegemite.
Marmite is, yeah.
I
Well,
probably
no, so
mispronounced the other one too. Who knows?
there's Marmite
Uh,
and Vegemite.
I
Those are
bet
two
that.
different things.
The only reason why I know what
They're
Vegemite
similar
is
though,
because
but
of
I just
the
know a lot
what
of
is it, Froyo
Australians.
song? Or no, Men at Work.
Yeah, Men at Work.
Men at Work, same.
Which, if you go to New Zealand, there's a lot of like it's like a national joke. Men at Work is in reference to back in the day when there were just like a bunch of dudes on New Zealand and no girls yet. They would have sex with the sheep because they were just
That,
raising sheep.
Whoa.
that,
that
Yep.
took a that took a left turn.
It's It's literally, if you go to New Zealand, it's everywhere. You can buy it on like a keychain. There's like they do it like a little construction sign or whatever, Men at Work. Like it's everywhere. And I was like, I'm sorry, what is this in
I'm going
reference
to talk
to?
to my friends from New Zealand right after this and be like, "What's
Yeah.
up with the sheep fucking guys?" Oh,
this is a
I'm
bad
no longer a part of
idea.
this podcast. That's the straw that broke the camel's back right there.
Um
Oh, I'm out of here.
Sheep's back.
Oh, so libraries. Yeah.
We have
Yeah, some
officially
libraries and books.
tainted you. You are
Um
you just because I sit here sometimes and I'm like, man, should I have said that? I judge myself after I say something when you're in the room, and then you come out and
hey man, I'm
and
just
drop a left
presenting
a
facts,
left
man.
turn like that. I
Oh
love
no.
it.
I'm presenting the facts as I learned them from experience being
Yeah,
in New
yeah,
Zealand.
I
So
have
that
to.
was
Hey man, I've traveled the world and
wild.
I've seen some weird
Oh, I do
shit.
watch that. I've worked on Top Gear
Well, it's
before.
also like that Top Gear
Program
episode.
day.
Yeah. So, do you know which Grand Tour episode I'm talking about?
No, I've definitely
No.
seen it though because I've watched them all, but I also forgot what I watched yesterday. So
Uh,
I love that
yeah,
show.
that we'll save that for another time. I've traumatized Gary enough for today. So,
Oh,
yeah.
Read
Well,
Across America. I do
Jay
remember that
gave
though.
us a very yeah. It was a fun time, except for the gross green eggs and ham. I did not like that at all. Sam, I am.
You will
Um,
get canceled by the people that anti-cancel Dr. Seuss. That's how this works.
Yeah. Like the people that and so there's like people that just went and bought all their books, like when people are like, don't do it, then people just bought them all out of spite. Like the
yeah,
Chick-fil-A.
literally. Yes. So,
It's nothing like get a
I
stack of
mean,
Mein Kampf.
who would have thought
You
that
know,
I mean, at this point, would I be surprised? Like, I don't,
it's
like,
going out of
like he was
business.
like real
yeah,
bad?
no, but that's what
Or
happened. Like,
was he worse than every other old white dude that lived in that era that was
It's
bad?
bad,
Like
dude.
he
It's
was,
honestly,
bad,
or he
probably
bad.
just like,
not. Like
right.
his is on record. Yeah. Like
On paper,
I'd say
that's
this
the
is
thing
on
we
record.
know.
Bro, there's cartoons that say like Asian in a box coming out with whatever epithet you could put doing like as a what do you call
I
it?
think
Jack in the box.
like people don't realize how much racism there was against Asian people until it kind of
Mhm.
came back recently, at least came back in the news. And then I think people did start to pay more attention. Yeah, just not.
There's a very interesting discussion to be had about Asian proximity to whiteness. there's a very good book, Minor Feelings, that I read that she's Asian American and talks about that a lot. But that is a whole can of worms to open. But Gary is,
I have an
yeah.
I have an Asian American librarian that I
Oh,
would
we
like to
need to
bring.
get some Asian American authors to talk about
She's my
stuff like
friend from
that.
college, the only other
Oh,
librarian I know.
yes. 1000%. That'd be amazing.
That's all.
What?
I do.
Yeah, that would be great.
Exactly 2.
Who the hell knows 2 librarians?
I mean,
She's
you
like,
were
I
thought that
go
they
do you
were,
really
like,
want to ask me that,
exclusive.
or
um,
I know a lot of
not to
librarians, but
hijack
No,
the
not you.
situation, but
You don't
that brings
count.
up a good point of,
uh,
and it's from the guy like me who's like Jay that hasn't gone to a
yeah,
library forever until yesterday. Like no librarian looking librarians were at this library, like it was just it was more men. Like I think in
no.
my head of a librarian as a woman, and it's probably wrong to think that way. That's just how I was like thought of it.
It's actually,
Hmm?
you would be right
It
most
was
of the
pretty
time.
split.
Percentage wise, it's not very even. It's a very female dominated field. So it's interesting.
I also couldn't tell like who's a librarian. Like there's people that work there, and I'm like, is that guy a librarian? Like, cause they work there. I don't know who's the librarian. Who's like,
Yeah.
there's not
Any
like just normal
librarian
people like
uniforms?
just dressed whatever. But it was more men than women
Mm.
that worked there. It seemed
So it wasn't a knee-length skirt with glasses on a chain
0
with a
turtlenecks,
bun and a turtleneck.
0. It's also 115 degrees in Las
That's not the
Vegas.
uniform, the
Yeah,
stereotype?
it was younger people and men. They're
Mm.
mostly there. Like, well, like 30 something year old dudes, I think was like 3 or 4 employees there. There's like a really old lady there that was like putting books back, but I don't know if she worked there or just
Yeah. She could have been a
helped out or whatever.
volunteer. She could have been part-time. Yeah, we have a lot of volunteers that come in. We have like a page, like a library page, and she does a lot of like shelving and stuff like that.
Her last name's Turner, guaranteed.
That's the title of the position, Gary, not her name.
Oh,
Yes.
oh, really? That's a thing. That's an actual position is a paid.
A library page. Yeah, a
Oh, I thought
page.
that was like the king's like lackey.
It is also that. Well, a knight's kind of like lackey, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you did use patronization earlier in a way that I was not
Mhm.
familiar with it being used. It's always got a negative context to me. I know patrons and but patronize, it's always had a negative
Yeah.
context to me. And I'm glad.
All of us patronize different
And I
businesses,
patronize people
right?
when I'm being a smartass.
We all go and support them and buy products from them or go there and yeah.
It just
Yeah.
was a little light bulb in the corner that it was a way that
There's
to
6
use
of
a
them
word that
from
I
this
hadn't
podcast.
used. Now, that brings me to a
Mm.
question, since you are our archivist, historian, librarian,
Smart.
and all things vocabulary as well. We had a discussion on the detention
Okay.
episode,
Shit.
which you have not heard yet. I don't
Gary-
know.
Probably not gonna be
Gary's
friends
like, damn it.
anymore.
It is uploaded. I made a statement regarding a potential dean
Okay.
that was coming onto the show to discuss pharmacology,
Mm.
drugs, mental health, and those drugs being 2 types, amongst others. And I used a word. I used illicit and I used licit.
Licit's not a word, is it? Like how superstitious, but stitious is not a
I've
word.
never heard anyone say licit. I don't know if it's a word or not though.
I'm hanging here, man. I might be wrong. I did not Google it.
Do we
did not
want to
look.
Google it now? Do we want to
I'm fairly certain for it to be illicit, there has to be licit.
Well, there's
But like
superstitious,
superstitious
and
and
there's no
like
stitious.
stitious. Because like on The Office, he's like,
Yeah,
I'm
a little
not
stitious.
superstitious, but I'm a little stitious.
That's what you said, and he did say that on the show.
I'm looking right now.
I'm banking.
My vocabulary is not.
Oh man, this is gonna be embarrassing.
It is.
I forgot about this.
It
I
is a
was right
word.
and you were wrong.
It
Oh,
is.
fuck.
Yes, eat that. Take. No, I'm kidding.
Licit. Yeah.
I've never listen. Like that doesn't sound right at all.
LICIT. According to Google, it is a thing. Definitions from Oxford Languages. So
That's that. I don't go by the
Ooh,
Oxford guy.
Not even. Yeah.
No.
what's it? Merriam and Webster.
What's that other dictionary on there?
Merriam-Webster.
Urban Dictionary.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Mary
All
Webster
there.
seems to know more than this Oxford guy.
So the Scrabble ruling is that I get to slap the board and all the tiles across the room because I got it right.
No, I do that.
Isn't
'cause
that
you
what
got it
happens
right.
when somebody tries to make you use the dictionary and loses?
No, I don't think that
You do a
word is
dance in
definitely
front
not
of
very many
everybody?
points, though. I can tell you that.
I don't care about how many points it is.
He
It's,
just cares about being
it's a
right.
word. It's a word.
is a
Word
word.
is a word is a word. It is on the board. Don't be trying to shame my word.
You just
Tell him he's not popular enough.
I've never heard that. Just
I've never heard anyone say that before either.
and she knows a lot of smart people.
But to get us back to the question at hand,
Disqualified you, by the way.
uh,
Yeah.
Jay gave us a very cogent answer to my role
I
of
don't know what that
libraries
means.
in the digital age. So, Gary, I'm curious, especially given your experience yesterday in a library and seeing a lot of things you weren't expecting to see, like how are libraries?
Porn blocker.
Yeah, we do have porn blocker on our computers, so.
That's like he just walks off. Porn blocker. Sorry.
So yeah,
Oh,
what is the role
seriously.
of libraries in the digital age, Gary? To you.
I don't want to like shit on libraries right
Mm,
now, but like that one was not comfortable. It was
mm.
hot and a lot of people were there just escaping the heat, I think. And it was like here's things that like maybe because I'm a TV guy, but like the lighting was bad, the acoustics were bad, like
Oh,
the
I'm
chairs were
sure.
uncomfortable.
When do you
So it
think the
was
building
like
was built? Like the 60s or 70s?
it's crappy 80s looking in there.
Yeah.
Like it's like old but not cool old in any way. It's just like should be
It's 70s
dusted.
old.
Yeah, it's just like uncomfortable, like weird light, like too light but not light enough, like low
Gotta tell you, the
ceilings.
picture you sent with
Yeah.
that
Oh,
PJ room, it looked
it
like
looked
you were entering a surgical
not
ward or
good.
a mental health
Yeah,
institution.
It looked like you were going to like an AA meeting.
they have those. No, they have those there.
Which, by the way, those happen in a lot of
No, they
libraries.
do
They
have those
do.
there.
They do happen at
Yeah. It was
libraries.
like Vegas
Yeah.
has no culture, right? It's like they have culture, but it's not nothing's old here. And if it's old, it's just enough old to like not be cool. It just like there's like 1950s, like mid-century modern neighborhoods that are pretty cool that I think. But then everything else is like late 70s, 80s, and just if it
Yep.
exists still, it's crappy
Yeah.
because they blow everything up and build new every 10 years. So if it's still like around from the 80s, it's because it's not that important or there's no money involved. So
Man,
like
very Atlantic City.
it's
Mm.
yeah, it's like it books seem to be like the last of the line of importance there. Like the DVD
Oh,
section
yeah.
was
I mean, I think
bigger.
you've hit it on the head with like funding
Yeah.
for public libraries
This is
is
a social thing.
yeah, it is a social thing because like libraries are one of the I think one of the few remaining true public spaces in the US.
I will say like I went home and looked up a bunch of libraries because I was like, I gotta find a cool library because this one
Mm.
sucks. And then
There
I like
are.
went down the rabbit
There
hole.
are a lot
Yeah,
of
there's
cool
a bunch
ones.
of ones that I want to check out for sure now. Because
I
I picture
wanna
libraries as being a cool old buildings with like history and
yeah.
like
Chicago
I
had
was
really
gonna
cool.
stuff like
say,
that.
I wanna share my screen with you really quickly to show you the Boston Public Library.
Look that one up.
Alright,
While you're doing that, what is
there we go.
librarian hand? Do you know what
It's
librarian
like
hand
really
is?
hard. Like
No, I don't. So you can see this is the Boston Public Library.
yeah, that doesn't look like the one at the south end of the Las Vegas Strip.
No,
Just saying.
no. And this is
Those
actually
are beautiful
isn't it
institutions.
Yeah,
gorgeous?
Look at that.
that's
So
not what I
the
said
Boston
yesterday.
Public Library
That's
was
what I want to
actually
see.
based on, I believe a library in France. I could be wrong, but I think it's based on a French building.
That's Rome
So
or France, probably.
it's gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. People that are listening, it's very much classically inspired, but inside it also has a lot of really amazing artwork that was done by famous artists. The reading room is very classic reading room. You have the vaulted ceilings, you have the wooden tables, you have the little green desk lamps. But then there's also much more modern sections of the building that serve different functions, for children and for teens and spaces like that. So it's a nice
Yeah,
mixture
that's
of both.
I like that. Like I'm really into architecture. Like when I travel, it's something I didn't care about as a kid, but
Yeah.
now like that would be someplace I would definitely go. And as like a fake photographer, like that's a great place. So I would like that's I went down the rabbit hole last night and checked out like that was like one of the first ones that came up.
Yeah,
I think most people say that's the best library in America.
it's
At least
beautiful.
Well, the
are those.
largest is the Library of Congress, right?
I
Do they
don't
have every book?
Unless you
I don't know that
get to
that's
see everything in the
actually
Vatican archives.
oh my gosh. Well, that's also like
That's an episode.
li
That's an episode. I have a lot of questions.
yeah, that'd be fascinating to go through. Library archive,
I'm looking through some
2 different
factoids.
things. 2 different things.
This is true. That's a discussion as well. Looking through some library facts, some different things, a little miscellaneous whatevers. And one of the things here was that the Library of Congress pays to reproduce popular magazines, including Playboy in Braille. Um, Like,
It sounds
that
whack,
shocked me.
but there's good art.
Paranormal romance is a popular genre in prison libraries, which, by the way, that should be a place that we're putting so much more into if we're saying that somebody needs the opportunity to, work on themselves.
We can go down that
What is
rabbit
going
hole.
on outside your place?
Fucking no,
Is Freddy
man.
Krueger raking your windows?
Oh, I hate when that happens.
The hell
He's
are
out there
they
just
doing?
scraping the blades down the glass.
I love it.
You have somebody that's trying to rake rocks off the sidewalk.
I think
Yeah,
it's like
he's very
our
old.
landlord's like landscape dude is here.
I'm not editing this shit.
Um,
This is how we roll.
Librarians get so mad when there's noise. She's like, "Oh,
well, I'm just
let the grass grow, asshole."
he's just out here like cigarette dangling from his mouth,
Oh,
raking like
oh man, I hate handless
recycling
smokers.
out of the vents.
Oh,
What the
dude.
hell?
Did I tell you about
Okay.
Yes, you did.
former gang member at sorry, I just have to tell you this. Did I tell you about him making
The
coleslaw?
coleslaw
He had
story.
a
Yeah,
cigarette hanging out of his mouth? Yeah.
yeah. That's the first story you ever told me when we met.
It's so gross.
No,
Disturbing
no,
on every
absolutely
level.
not.
Never eat coleslaw again.
Um,
Never eat coleslaw again. Okay, sorry. Back to the library.
yeah, I have a few thoughts on this question to kind of like wrap us up, I think. And
Oh, I have like 900 questions written down. We're gonna have to do this
you have
again.
900 questions. Well, you can
Yeah,
ask me
I do
some
too.
questions. Well, how about
No,
I'll give my thoughts on digital libraries or like libraries in the digital
Yeah,
age,
please do, because that's
and then we
huge.
can have some question answer time, and then we can.
Yeah,
I've got some
I'll
plugs.
save some of them for
We
next
have a
time.
plug for TA
Oh,
Library.
nice.
It's
Oh,
exciting.
that's right. Yeah.
So
I want to talk meta libraries.
oh boy.
Here we
Yeah.
go.
So
Googling.
libraries in the digital age, like I said before, yeah, libraries often serve a social communal function that people tend to dismiss if they don't actively go to libraries. Like, you wouldn't even think about it necessarily. But I'm also interested to know how much you guys know about you can check out materials digitally from libraries. You know that, right?
I know that as of last night.
Yeah.
I
You don't have you
huh?
don't have to go into a library, and you can download books onto your Kindle or your phone that are library
Yeah,
books.
and when I went to look up like their hours and stuff, I saw there's like all kind
Do
of
you
digital
digitally
stuff.
return it?
It gives you a time limit, and it will remove it from your phone when it's done. You don't have to do anything. Yeah.
Wow.
So,
I-
that's the main
You
thing.
just changed everything I know about libraries
That's
in
one of
a
my
second.
questions I actually was gonna ask because I'll let you finish and then I'll ask a question.
Yeah, so I've been checking out ebooks on my Kindle for years now. But you can imagine that COVID really accelerated that practice for a lot of people because all of a sudden they weren't
Mm.
able to go into any space, library or like bookstore. And so libraries really began to really push for their digital services, many of which already included ebook and e-audiobook services. So most of the time, your public library is going to have an app, or we have multiple apps that you can download onto your phone. You can check out ebooks, e-audiobooks. You're given the same time limit you're given with your regular books from the library, and then it will automatically just return them when the time limit is up. You don't have to do anything. So it's
That's
hugely
amazing, by the way.
convenient.
I'm glad that that's available. Like, it's a huge sigh of relief for those without the money to
That's
purchase books
yeah,
or the ability to get to a library or something like that.
exactly. Like
Lots of music stuff.
it is, Space Cowboy Jeff Bezos has made comments in the past about Amazon replacing libraries altogether. That, oh, well, people can just pay a monthly fee and get access to the books, the music, the comics, the whatever. And I'm like, you're missing the point of libraries, which is that some people cannot afford a monthly fee. Some people rely on access to
We
free
couldn't.
services. Like if your family, like, and it doesn't even have to be like people think, oh, it must be just people in absolute poverty. No. What if you're a family that has 5 children? What if you've got 5 kids? You really going to buy books for all 5 kids? No, you are not. That is way too expensive in today's age. Like that's going to cost you hundreds of dollars going to the bookstore. So where do
But
you
an
go?
e-checkout is amazing.
You go to the library. You go to the library. You don't even have to buy them. You know, and the convenience of Amazon is also another huge factor. But like now there's convenience with library materials as well. You know, so it is just as simple as like a few clicks or whatever to get your library book. There are limitations to that. If a book is really popular, you may still have to wait, and some people don't want to wait. So then they buy the book instead. And that's fine. But some people can't afford it regardless. So having a space that's going to provide those materials and those services for free is very, very important. It's the underpinning of what public library work is all about. And yeah, I get very upset when people kind of are dismissive of libraries as being these kind of like archaic, out of date places, because in reality, in a lot of ways, they aren't, but people just don't know. They're not
It's a
interested to
marketing
know.
problem.
Yeah.
Do we think this is an education issue? Because I got to tell you, they didn't sell the library well to me as a kid.
No, I don't think they
They
do.
sold
Yeah.
that as a place where I got in trouble, yelled at, had to do work,
It's
was not
broccoli.
there ever for fun. So, honestly, it turned me off from books,
Yeah. Yeah.
which
It's a
I don't
marketing
think is
issue.
I think that the underlying issue here, or one of them, is the education behind what the library's purpose is and how it can be utilized, the creation or the protection of the arts and given to the people that don't have the money to be able to take in that kind of information. That's a barrier.
It
That's
is.
a poverty
Yeah.
barrier to intelligence,
Yes.
education, and the rise of people that have been oppressed. I see what you're saying
Yeah.
there.
It
The library is a key to a destination that's being held by people with money.
Yes. And there are so many libraries that offer, you know, English language courses that
They have
offer
one
that
right here.
have immigration lawyers come in and speak to people about how you know, how they can go about getting green cards, citizenship. You know, like there are so many barriers to people of certain socioeconomic statuses and people of color and all of these other underprivileged groups that libraries are serving. And to kind of
Dawn of time.
dismiss that altogether, you're dismissing all of these people at the same time. You're just assuming that they have the same kind of privileges that you do. So, yeah, the library is so much more than books, and it has adapted in a
Does
lot
the
of
library
ways.
need to be branded?
It needs to be branded. That's what I
Probably,
was
yeah.
gonna say. There's
Yeah.
The
marketing
library
is
needs to be branded.
it's the marketing's terrible. Like there you have people in the library have to be there, in my opinion. Like when I went, it was people that had to be there. Like
Mm.
they
Yeah.
didn't have enough money or it's too hot outside. Nobody looked like they were there to like because they wanted to just come and check some stuff out. Look like and I was judging the people in there, but it was a woman with 5 kids. Obviously homeless people, really
Yeah.
old people. Like the marketing it sucks. Like all the stuff you're telling me, like it doesn't even cross my mind. It's not like I intentionally like
Yeah.
fuck the library. It
Well,
doesn't
because people,
come into my
they just
brain that
don't
like
associate
need-
that kind of stuff with
yeah.
libraries, you know?
They need to make it cool. Like like I was gonna bring this up earlier when you said book it. I don't know who remembers book it. Do you remember this as a kid?
Same
Y-
thing as
Mm-mm.
Riff and all that stuff, right?
It
Yeah,
it
reading
was
is
at Pizza Hut.
fundamental. Book it.
It
Yeah,
was
you
at
get a
Pizza Hut.
personal pan pizza.
Right. Yes, a big button and it had
Mm.
stars. And every time
Mhm.
you read a book, you got a star. When it's full, you got a free pizza.
Yeah.
And it was like not good pizza. I'm from Cleveland, had great pizza, but like we always liked
Sure,
we got our
sounds
own pizza, you
fantastic.
know? So as kids, we loved book it. You know, I lied about reading 100 Hardy Boys books in my life just so I could get free pizzas. But that marketing
Choose your own
campaign had
adventure, man.
worked
It's
at
got a
then.
different ending every time.
Yep.
Mm.
Yeah, I actually was going to talk about that too. I want to start making short films that are choose your own adventure because I think that's cool. But they need something like that that's modernized to like get people to like make libraries cool. Even just looking up the historical buildings, I never just thought like I'm into that kind of thing, but never thought like, oh, there's cool libraries in
Yeah.
towns that I go to.
Yeah.
I look up
My
like the old
library
courthouse
was,
and stuff like that.
the library I work at currently was built in 1907. It's
Like
a
that's cool.
very cool old
That's an
building.
institution. That's something you protect.
The one that I worked in prior to this was built in 1897. So there's a lot of historic libraries in Maine.
Like
So
I think that's what they got. You know, like they have podcasting class in like a DJ studio at mine. It looks terrible. It looks like a psych ward, but at least they're trying.
yeah.
That's
you
the
know, that teach
problem.
DJing classes and podcasting, and, like, I think
Fund
that's
it.
cool. So but they gotta tell people that. I would have never known. Where am I gonna find that out, you know? Like, on these like, "Hey, Riverside," you, like, advertise that, you know?
Yeah.
At podcast places, like, "Hey, you could go learn right at your local library." Like, they should be in conjunction with
But
that or
then you're
something.
making poor people smart, and then they might know
Well
that they're being kept poor.
yeah, I mean, that's a whole other thing that I'm dealing with on some documentaries that I'm producing. It's like,
Mm.
keep the dumb dumb and, give them just enough so they vote for you, Democrats. And, it's like, it's oppressed, information there. You see it right at these libraries, now it's very controlled, I think, because libraries, in my opinion, are much smaller than probably they used to be. So what is in that library, I think, like, it's very hand chosen. There's hardly any books there, so there's not a huge variety. So what stayed? How did they decide, like, these are the books that we're keeping in this section? Is it just popularity? That's the kind of stuff I was going in my brain. 'Cause, like, the history section's, like, really small. So, like, what's on those history shelves now? Just what was the most popular, or is it calculated, you know?
Um,
Maybe this is, like,
so
way
I'm
too
not
deep
the best
of a
person to answer this
There's
question
responsibility in that.
because I don't do collection development. That's going to be something that, for example, at our library, that's what our adult services librarian does. She does collection development. But sorry, there's just like some redneck
But
truck
what
going on
happens if your
outside.
collection development person is racist?
Then you get a racist collection. And that's what has happened historically in the US. 1000%. I boom. Yes. You get a racist collection. And so a lot of library work in recent years has been trying to undo that. But yeah, so what goes into a collection is trying to, according to the American Library Association guidelines, library collections should cover a fair range of viewpoints in each subject. So there is an effort that is made to showcase all viewpoints, regardless of whether or not you agree with them, because that's what should be made available to the public.
Mm,
There is also for individual libraries what people like check out. So we do look at statistics, what goes out and what doesn't. That's going to influence what we buy next because it's not like we have huge budgets that we can just waste money buying books that we know are likely not to get checked out at all. And then also patron requests. Have we gotten a lot of requests for a particular item? Is the wait list for some books extremely long? We need to get a copy of this. So those are things that I know go into collection development, but obviously, like I said, I'm not the best person to answer that question. Um,
It's interesting because you don't wanna erase the past, right? And so there's, like, a lot of racist literature that has been obviously, especially in America, but if you take that off the shelves, like people are saying, we're, like, trying to hide the history
mm,
and, like, forget about it, but then if you, keep too many on the shelves, it's, like, reiterating that
that's what
those
museums are
so
for.
so it's kind of like,
it is.
I mean, should we pull all this stuff off the library shelves from those
I
eras
mean,
or
I
keep
think
some
uh,
or
I think Jay kind of hit it on the head there. Museums, archives, special collections. Those are the places that can house a lot of this material that's historical. But maybe is not something that we want people reading and taking as fact. That's the problem, because in the library, there's not a lot of like
Mm.
context to the books, right? So when you talk about like removing racist monuments, for example, a lot of times the solution is not necessarily to remove it entirely, but to put context, right? You have the signage that states, this person was a slave owner. They've done these, and these things, but they also, owned slaves, like blah blah blah. That provides context to the monument. So we're not glorifying the monument, but we're also not necessarily removing it so that people can just forget that this happened. When you're in a library, that's not something we could necessarily do with every single book. So like if we kept like a historical book that has like very racist overtones, undertones, whatever, we're not necessarily going to be able to like label every single book like, don't take this as fact, this is racist. So in that case, it's probably not something that would,
You have to put
yeah,
disclaimers.
it's probably not something that would stay in a public library collection, but it is something that would be preserved in a special collections or an archive or in a museum. So that's
it's
my
a lot of
view on
power
it.
who gets to choose that.
Not everyone thinks that way. That's just my opinion.
No, you've actually opened my eyes in a lot of different ways, and I would love to continue the conversation, which is fantastic because we're going to have more conversations like this. Do you want to
We
explain
are.
to everybody what an episode? We actually talked about what an episode would look like as the TTA library, that it's going to
Yes.
focus on authors, publishing, anything and everything related to books,
Yes.
and information and that kind of thing. So I think everybody can look forward to that as something that we'll be releasing more often. Jennifer will be a part of it. We're super excited. She'll be teaching us a lot of different things, but more so the opportunity to get creators and people that don't have the ability to get this information together on the same page.
Mm.
I think showcasing that literature is an art, whether it's nonfiction, whether it's fiction, whether it's, comedy, whether it's still an art that needs to be protected, preserved, and discussed. Apparently there is also a dirt bike track.
There's like a
I love
crop
this.
duster
You
outside.
have,
Like
I was gonna say, is that a dirt bike
I'm
track or
telling you,
there's a plane.
she just got the new like sound effects button on Riverside. She's like, oh,
I've got like the roadcaster over here. I'm just pressing buttons.
yeah.
sweet. Every time
I'll
say
be
something
like
she
throwing
doesn't
the construction noise in next, so.
Yeah, here comes a barge. It's great.
So yeah, look for library episodes. They'll be categorized that way, and there'll be information that you can learn from, and of course a lot of shenanigans and BS, because that's what we do.
Yep.
We don't take anything overly serious, but at the same time, I want to thank you, Jennifer, for pointing out some really important things that I don't think people realize. And you opened my eyes, because one of the things that I always point out to people is that the world was illiterate for a long time.
Yes.
And a very small fraction of humans were given the rights or the ability to read and write, and the rest of it was kept from
Literacy
people.
is a gift.
And
it is a gift. And I think
we
a lot
didn't
of
get it
people
until the 60s
don't.
on most of the world.
Yeah.
And we're going backwards. I've looked at some statistics
Yes.
recently.
Yes. It is a gift.
So
It is
thank
powerful.
you for being a protector and for
Thank you.
recognizing that it needs to be maintained. It's a gift. It's a treasure that we need to keep. And I'm grateful to you for maintaining that. I'm also grateful to you for putting up with us during an episode where you're trying to discuss something that you're so passionate about.
I think we behaved
We just-
pretty well.
I think you guys did a good job.
Did we?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
All
like, I
right.
bit my tongue like 73 times, like it's bleeding.
Do I get like a scratch and sniff sticker to take home or something like
2
that?
gold stars.
I want the one that says you're great, or something like that.
What is that? That's not a thing. Grape?
What?
That is definitely a scratch and sniff.
You don't know
sticker.
what a scratch and sniff sticker?
Nah, but like not one that's that lame. We had like the
Oh,
fart
please, they
ones.
were all lame.
They all.
Like,
I mean,
what scratch
none
and
of them
sniff
really
sticker
smelled
wasn't
like
lame.
anything. Yeah.
Yeah, they all just smell
No,
like the
they
same
were just
chemical.
chemicals.
Yeah.
They had like a faint Kool-Aid smell.
Yeah, I used to sniff them for like 5 hours straight. Is that weird?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, pretty weird.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Pretty
But
weird.
as we're wrapping up
So
today's
thank you.
episode, I did want to talk about the grand opening of the Tragedy Academy bookstore.
Yes.
Books,
So
check 'em out.
if you're listening or watching, are we publishing the video or just doing audio? I don't know.
I think we're gonna just. I can only do so many videos.
Yeah. So if you're listening to this, you can head on over to bookshop.org/shop/the Tragedy Academy. There are lists of our personal book recommendations that have already been loaded. So you can take a look at what we're reading, what's been influential to us. And in the future, we'll be building a list of author books featured on the show. So you get an awesome book while supporting us at the same time. It's a win-win. So make sure to check it out.
A lot
Love
of variety
got a lot
there.
of cool
It's all
books.
over.
Yeah,
Yep.
we do. We do. Yeah, there's a lot of variety. So
We're all very
Some-
different.
something
which
for
is
everyone.
cool. And then, yeah.
Yeah.
Mine have
Love it.
pictures, lots of pictures.
Gary, you got anything?
I thought about a lot of things I haven't thought about before just after meeting you and like learning about library sciences or whatever, if that's even a word.
it is.
But just yesterday going to the library, seeing what they have, I went down kind of the rabbit hole and like, they have the largest collection of concerts in one place
Mhm.
on an app and I just started watching those last night.
Holy
Like,
crap!
They tout to have the largest in the world, but there's thousands of concerts on there. I'm a huge music dork. And that was just something I just didn't even think about. Music libraries.
Yeah.
They have a million movies there. Yeah, we could get them all on our phone, but sometimes it's cool to like go look on the shelves. Like feels like old school, but you could see like you always it's like whatever on your
Like
Netflix, it's
vinyl.
like curated or whatever to what you like. So you're only seeing like shit they think you want to see. But if you go to a library or something, you look at all these different things. There's
Yeah.
like stuff you would have never thought to check out. There's a couple movies I wrote down just from looking at the library yesterday that I was like, oh, that's interesting or whatever.
Yeah.
And marketing is my thing. And I've been a television producer for 20 years and everything. And I think the libraries have a marketing issue. It's a huge problem because talking to you, there's a bunch of stuff that I'm like interested in now, but I never thought about it. Like it didn't cross my mind. And then also as a person in television, I in a way control some information that goes out there. And thinking all the way back to how that started with libraries and books and what was
Yeah.
published or what was made public. It's got me thinking like a whole different way. And I love books. I like physical books. I can't read on a Kindle. So I have records. I have tapes. Like I don't like everything to be digital. So it's cool that they still exist because I want to have that. I don't want to give it back, kind of like you said earlier. Like
Power
it's
goes
mine.
out.
Like but they also sell books at the library here too. I mean, they're 50 cents. They've been in way too
They
many
do,
hands.
yeah. We have a
Yeah.
book sale always. Books are $1 or like
Yeah.
CDs. Like, it's
Support
yeah.
your local libraries.
Yeah.
I think that's what we can say right
Yeah.
now. We need to
And there's a
support
lot
that.
of stuff
We
like
need
you
to make
said.
sure that we're
Yeah.
voting.
Go check it out because you never know. You never know what your local library
There's
is going
cool
to have.
stuff there.
And now we have a
Yeah.
big train.
Perfect timing.
Oh, even better.
Yes.
What you don't see is Jennifer is actually doing the same thing Gary was doing, giving him like the honk your horn sign where you pull your arm down. She's that close to the tracks.
Yeah, I mean, she just almost got hit. Her hair's like blowing in the wind.
They hold her lunch out the side of the window and she grabs it on the way by like a mail bag.
No, if that train ever derails in front of our apartment, we're just
Oh, you're screwed for
It
sure.
sounds like it's going through your
It's too
bathroom right now.
close.
Yeah.
You're
it's
you
way too
are a
close.
rail
You, they just fly off the
disaster
tracks every day.
waiting to
So
happen.
you're in trouble.
Yeah. We'll be on the news.
Bro, I'm telling you, take a look. Go look up the facts. How many trains crash this year and how many planes?
I'm going to look. And I'll probably lose like this. It's going to be this illicit thing all over again.
Now you have to look. All right, let's get out of here.
Hmm.
We're going to be sitting here forever. This is an hour and 31 minutes. Rock on.
We are.
It didn't seem like
Yeah.
I was like, oh yeah, it'll be like a 20-minute episode.
yeah.
When I saw your outline, I was like,
So many-
holy shit, we're going to be here for a while.
Yeah, I did study a lot of shit.
I felt like I needed to study, though.
Yeah, there's like, it's marketing. It's all
Well,
marketing. Everything in the
this
world
is an after-school
I talk
study
about this all the
session,
time.
so.
It's like, if you have the best sandwich in town and nobody knows you have it, then no one's going to eat the sandwich. It's like,
This is marketing.
when
for
it-
sure.
and like the teen stuff seemed cool. Like, no.
Yeah.
But the germophobia in me was like, I had to pee really bad. I'm like, I'm not going in that bathroom. It's like 4 homeless people walking out at the same time when I would walk towards them.
Ooh, at the same time, that's extra.
Yeah, they're doing dope. They're
That's a
definitely doing drugs in
meeting.
there.
that's not happenstance when there's 4 of them at once.
Yeah.
No, it's
No.
Or-
Nah, you could tell they were all doped out. It's I saw domestic violence in the parking lot. It's right next to weekly apartments.
easy not to look at.
I honestly
Mm.
like I pass that building every day and I
Mhm.
just never thought about it. It's a nondescript like brick building with a sign that's half fallen off.
Yeah.
But it got me looking into like cool libraries too that I'm definitely going to start checking them out. I'm going to go to Europe pretty soon and I've already looked at like ones that I will definitely go see.
Oh yeah, they've been around forever, so you get to go in and take it.
Beautiful libraries there.
All right, guys.
Yeah, I think
Just
there's a
gorgeous.
lot of
Yeah.
questions I want to ask on different topics, just depending on what as we
This
go.
isn't one
but-
episode. I think we're also grabbing here because I have so many questions as
Yeah.
well and so many topics I want to discuss that I feel like if I end this episode, we're not going to get a chance to talk about them, but that's not the case. We're going to get the chance to get specific topics and talk about one. Yeah, send them to us.
It's
Definitely hit us up on
Okay.
social media.
Write 'em
email
down.
us, show at
Write 'em down.
thetragedyacademy.com. Check us out Instagram, Twitter, all that happy crap. TikTok. Gary does dances. He does whatever trend
I will
comes
start
out
today.
most
I'm
recently.
learning hula on Friday night.
He is.
Me and Edith.
Him and
and
Beverly.
Gretchen. Yeah. Yeah.
Betty,
Picture in the Golden
Beverly.
Girls.
Gertrude.
All the Golden Girls
Yeah.
are there.
Betty.
I hope there's a Blanche there.
Oh, definitely a Blanche. There's always a Blanche.
Judith.
Blanche rules. All right. Remember, everybody, be cool and keep learning.
I thought it was over.
What's up, academics? This episode is sponsored by Podpage. Build a beautiful podcast website in 5 minutes. Automatically create a beautiful listener-friendly podcast site from your RSS feed. So you can import your RSS feed into this site and it automatically generates everything for you. Puts in your artwork, puts in your show notes, puts in all those links, your guest info, everything right there. You get to customize the design to create a professional look that you'll be proud of in a few clicks. You don't have to have a coding background. You don't have to have technical knowledge. This is all plug and play. Choose the design you like, fit and tailored to your brand, the right colors, the right layout, so many different things to choose from. The templates are endless. If you're a beginner, then go to Podpage and find the most organized way to create and monetize your show using the easiest templates. Start out on the right foot. And for veterans, have you been looking for a way to streamline your workflow and focus on what matters, the content or your listeners? Then go to Podpage, plug in your RSS and preview your site for free. No more WordPress and YouTube videos to figure out what else needs to be integrated. Not only will you get the best centralized podcast website, you're going to also find all the missed opportunities for monetization, branding, and critical integrations at the click of a mouse. Whether you want to start a new show or take your existing one to a whole new level, Podpage is the best source to create your site. There are 3 tiers to choose from: free, basic, and pro. Basic gets you that custom domain. Free gets your feet wet. And then, of course, pro, that's where you engage your listeners. So get out there, go to thetragedyacademy.com, click on the sponsors tab, and help support the show by clicking the Podpage link and purchasing your new site today. And remember, academics, be cool and keep learning.